150 points. The Chicago Bulls gave up 150 points to a depleted Wolves team without Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. 150 points in 48 minutes. Inexcusable. I mean, we thought the 2 games against the Knicks were bad, especially that second loss being the last straw that really made us realize, most of us Bulls fans anyway, that the Bulls were done. But if there was any doubt or optimism from some fans that the Bulls could maybe somehow turn this thing around, that was all killed tonight. An absolute pathetic display of basketball, and in a game for which the Bulls are bleeding, there was no sense of urgency, no sense of pride, and overall just didn't seem like they really cared to be on the court. It was that bad. I was embarrassed to call this my team tonight. If you guys caught my post-game video rant in that last game against the Knicks, you know I'm heading out on vacation for 2 weeks to Hawaii, and while I was still going to try to put out some content here and there while I was there, I think I might just have to take the full 2 weeks off. I need a break from this team, and I can't wait to head out tomorrow morning and forget all about the Bulls for a while, because what in the actual hell is going on with this team? I mean, it's one thing to lose games when you're competing. It's one thing to lose games when you're playing hard, fighting on every possession, but to lose in the manner that they have been more recently, completely disengaged, not playing with any heart, with any sense of freaking urgency that their season is literally on the line this early in the year because of the lousy start that they've had. And at the end of the day, these guys don't have leaders on their team. Zach Lavine is not a leader, plain and simple. I mean, we kind of all knew that before the start of the season. The difference now is they paid him to be that leader. You paid him to be that franchise player. You gave him a 5-year guarantee contract to stay with this team and take them into the future, because it's not like DeMar DeRozan is going to be a part of the long-term plan for this team, given he's 33. They literally constructed this team around Zach Lavine. Every move that they've made more recently, whether it be the trade for Nikola Vucevic, bringing in Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, all of that was to build around Zach Lavine. And honestly, it was a mistake, because I said it from damn near 2 seasons ago. I love Zach. He's a great player, phenomenal talent, incredible scorer, but he's not a franchise player. And I never understood why so many Bulls fans felt that way. He is not a number 1 option on a contending team. And the real reason for that is not because of his talent. The guy has talent, a ton of it. That is there. It's his decision making, his IQ, an ability to lead a team. That's what doesn't make him that guy. And don't get me wrong, DeMar is part of the problem as well. You know, it was all good and dandy last season when he was putting on these insane scoring clinics. He was sort of revitalizing his career. It made for a great story. He was coming up big in the clutch for the Bulls. It was all good. But his style of offense, 1, isn't working anymore like it did last season, and 2, the heavy ISO ball, where DeMar has the ball in his hands for most of the possession, isn't conducive to what makes this team successful. Pushing the pace, playing in transition, moving the ball around, heavy passing, that's when this team is at their best. And DeMar slows all of that down when he's playing heavily in the half court, trying to create contact, holding onto the ball. You can't get too mad at him because he's still the Bulls' best player. He's still an insanely talented guy. But what makes it part of the problem is because he is the best player. Most of the touches and shot attempts are going to go to him, and it limits everyone else's abilities on the court. What's funny is you look at the Bulls' big 3 tonight, you look at the box score in general for the Bulls, you see an efficient team. All of these guys were great. Hell, the Bulls as a team shot 52% from the field and 42% from 3. 42% from 3 is great for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls even had 31 assists tonight, which I've always said, if they can put up more than 30 assists, that translates into a win. And yet, the Bulls lost by near 25 points in this one. How? It all boils down to effort. Who wants it more? And it especially boils down to the effort on the defensive end. The Bulls have actually been an okay team on defense this season. They were top 10 in defense just a couple games ago. But lately, the lack of effort, the missed assignments, the miscommunication on switches, all of it has been so bad that teams are able to get whatever they want. And it's why you see an average Timberwolves team, without some of their better players, still be able to put up 150 points on you. The perimeter defense tonight was terrible. How do you let D'Angelo Russell go 7 for 10 from 3 and let the Wolves put up a season-high 23 threes in this game? The Wolves shot 53% tonight from 3 on 43 attempts. How have the Bulls not been working on this in practice to keep themselves from getting torched from downtown? We've been seeing it all season long. When is it going to stop? It's absolutely pathetic how bad the Bulls have been. And look, I said it in my last video, everyone is to blame. The players, the coaching staff, front office, all of it. It is unacceptable. Whether you have Lonzo Ball or not, for the Bulls to be playing like this, like they are right now, being 11-18 on the season in a year where the front office had preached they expect the team to be better than last year. And again, continuity. to continue to preach continuity. The fact of the matter is, no matter who you blame, this team isn't playing for each other. They're playing for themselves. And say what you will about Jim Boylan. My God, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Say what you will about Jimbo, but he would be on the players' asses right now and making them run laps with the way that they've been playing. He would be letting them hear it in practice about this kind of piss poor performance that they are displaying. But you know, Billy's not going to do that. It'll be more, well, this team just needs to come together. They have to compete better. There needs to be more resolve. There needs to be more spirit. He's a player's coach, which is all good and well. I mean, I would much prefer a player's coach in most circumstances over the incompetence of Jim Boylan any day. But when you guys are giving little effort, grossly underperforming relative to their expectations, it doesn't pay to be a player's coach and let them walk over you. You need to be a leader that is going to be on these guys, getting in their ear, and let them know this can't continue. You need to be an inspiring and motivating coach, but that is also going to be firm. The Bulls don't have that. And again, it also doesn't help when you don't have a true leader on the court itself. And look, I'll probably have to make a separate video on this topic, so I'll be brief with it here. But the front office needs to come out of hiding and start addressing the media and taking some accountability for this roster construction and strategy for which they have taken. You guys know I'm not a big fan of Billy Donovan, but he shouldn't be taking all of the heat and bullets thrown at him in press conferences for why this team is underperforming. The front office put this team together. They kept preaching continuity, even though we saw this team fall off a cliff at the end of the season last year. They didn't do anything to address the Bulls' biggest weaknesses, particularly around shooting. And hey, they gave Zach Lavine also a max contract this offseason. They have some explaining to do. They need to start answering for some of these failures. And they've been all but silent. I saw a tweet from Joe Cowley, which I don't really consider him to be a very credible source and is probably one of the biggest sham of a journalist as one of the Bulls beat writers. But he said there have been requests to speak to the Bulls front office, and the response has been they are unavailable. Like, I know they're busy guys, but no, this is your team. They're bleeding right now. You need to come out and talk about what you're going to do to change this roster. Lonzo Ball, if he even comes back, isn't saving this team. I'm sorry. And you know, I've seen some people say, well, we've gone through worse with the Bulls over the years. There have been much darker days in the past, right? Yeah, the difference though is that the Bulls were really bad when they were really bad, whether it was post-dynasty era or the years after they traded Jimmy Butler to trigger a rebuild. The Bulls were expected to be bad. They were expected to lose on most nights. That's not the case with this team. This wasn't a season of rebuilding or tanking. This roster was completely revamped to start winning now. Nah, it's much worse when you have high expectations and your team continually disappoints. You guys know I'm still going to love the Bulls either way and will always be a diehard fan, but Jesus, this team is testing my patience more than it ever has in the past. It's a good thing I started another channel covering the NBA because I need a break from making strictly Bulls content every once in a while, which by the way, if you guys haven't checked it out already, the link to that is in the description. That's all I've got to say, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.